So Donald Trump's government shutdown is here. Midnight has struck, and now we're all trying to pick up the pieces. If you've been following the story, you'll know that Trump has been threatening to mass fire federal workers. And I want to give you the latest of what's going on, and also a Korean perspective, which is different than what you may get in the American news. So first, this was a headline here just a couple days ago. Trump threatens mass firings of federal employees in government shutdown. He's been talking about for a long time. Basically, he hates workers. And then you have this: unions sue over Trump plan to fire federal workers in a shutdown. And this is going to be a chaotic fight. I'm sure the courts will get involved. I'm sure there'll be lots of blame to go around. But at the end of the day, and this is something I always tell you guys, we want people who care about regular people, and we want people in leadership positions who care about the workers. Trump is completely the opposite of that. And in fact, you can see this. Trump administration moves to curtail appeals by fired workers, right? So Trump not only wants to fire you, he wants to remove any ability for you to, fight back through the courts, etc. Listen to what Fox News has to say about this stuff.
Just after midnight, the shutdown has begun. Democrats refusing to back a Republican plan to fund the government before the midnight deadline. Leaders on the right say it is all political theater.
This is a temper tantrum of Chuck Schumer and the Democrats saying, we hate Donald Trump.
We'll talk about that with the panel in moments, but first to Chad Pergram, the senior congressional correspondent. He's live for us on Capitol Hill with the very latest. Chad.
Trace, hey there. Well, consider what a government shutdown does. Government programs have just ceased a couple of moments ago because they don't have any direction or funding from Congress.
Okay, no directing or funding of Congress. They just hate Donald Trump. That's what we're talking about over at Fox News. And honestly, guys, it is hard to take this all in, because part of it is a complete clown show where it's so absurd. You're just like, what do I do? Do I laugh? Do I cry? Other parts is actually quite serious because people's lives are on the line as people have bills to pay. And then you have this. This was new to me. I didn't know about this one. Federal employees are told to blame Democrats for the shutdown. So I guess the Trump administration sent out memos to federal workers saying, when in doubt, blame Democrats. If you're at work in the federal government, I'd like to hear if you've gotten the memo. Yes, it really is as stupid as it sounds. And in fact, it's the same thing with Trump calling all the military generals, etc. He's trying to essentially use people who shouldn't be partisan at all. Just, you want people to do their job. It's not about left, right, Republican, Democrats. It's about serving the Constitution and the people. But then Trump's more like, hey, you need to be loyal to me or else, right? And he threatens people all the time. This looks to be ugly, though, because the divide between the Democrats and Republicans, keeps increasing. Now, usually they'll come up with some sort of solution right before the deadline. This didn't happen this time, so I have no prediction on how long this will go, other than we're going to keep tracking it. This is something that's not even talked about that much, and I literally just thought myself, I knew this was happening, but I mean, you can see it. 800 more FBI employees are officially out as Patel's overhaul continues. And so basically, you're seeing a dismantling of the government. You're going to have some people who basically, hey, I'm getting out because I have nothing to do with the Trump administration. Time for me to retire. You'll have other people who will be forced out, and you'll have anywhere in between. But ultimately, their goal is to replace all of you with AI, robots, or just not replace you at all and basically dismantle everything. It's frankly pretty sick. I'll just, be honest with you guys about this stuff.
This has never been done before, and there's a little bit of expense. Would rather spend it on bullets and rockets, frankly. But this was the one time we had to do a great spiritizing. And when they're not good, when we don't think they're our warriors, you know what happens? We say, you're fired, get out. Pete Hegseth is talking right now. I'm going to have to leave.
But if the words I'm speaking today are making your heart sink, then you should do the honorable thing and resign. Politically correct. Overly sensitive. Don't hurt anyone's feelings. Leadership ends right now. No more identity months, DEI offices, dudes in dresses. No more climate change worship. No more division, distraction, or gender delusions. No more beardos. No more frivolous complaints. No more anonymous complaints. No more repeat complainants. No more walking on eggshells.
And then what they're talking about here in the Korean subtitles is essentially what they're saying is this the emergency that Trump called all these, generals to come meet to talk about beardos and dudes in dresses and stuff like that? And it's crazy when you watch this stuff because, the Korean news, they try to be polite about this stuff, but how do you talk about Hegseth and Trump when they're completely insane? I mean, you guys can see it for yourself. And so what they do, they literally just play their words and translate it. And certainly they do edit it in a way that sort of makes Trump and the Hegseth look bad, but it's not that hard to do, to be perfectly frank, to make Trump and Hegseth look bad. All you have to do is show what they say. Let me show you an example of what I'm talking about here.
We've brought back the fundamental principle that defending the homeland is the military's first and most important priority. That's what it is. Only in recent decades did politicians somehow come to believe that our job is to police the far reaches of Kenya and Somalia, while America is under invasion from within. We're under invasion from within. It seems that the ones that are run by the radical left Democrats, what they've done to San Francisco, Chicago, New York, Los Angeles, they're very unsafe places, and we're going to straighten them out one by one. We will not be politically correct when it comes to defending American freedom, and we will be a fighting and winning machine.
And so the question that's being posed in, say, the Korean news is like, is Trump trying to cause a civil war, basically? I want you just to listen to how the Koreans talk. I know you won't understand necessarily all of it, but just look at their demeanor. Just watch.
미국이 지금 내부로부터 침입을 당하고 있다. 미국 밖에 안보 여부를 얘기하는 게 아니라 마치 진보 좌파의 전쟁을 얘기하는 것 같은데요.
그 얘기입니다.
이런 얘기 해도 됩니까, 근데?
And so if you understand, like, just the context of it, the guy's like kind of half laughing, basically saying, is Trump really saying these words? Is he like trying to cause a fight between the left and the right? That's what they're talking about. And, you have to put this also in context to understanding Korean history, to where, yes, they did have government who would use the military to go against their own people. I've talked about this several times on the channel. I encourage you to watch the movies 12/12 The Day, or watch 1987 When the Day Comes. Both are very good movies which show this stuff. And in Korea, basically, they overcame these things. They also had to deal with the Yoon, try to do martial law. The Koreans basically took the streets peacefully, ultimately had President Yoon arrested and impeached. And, for people watching at home in Korea, they're just like, why don't you do the same with Trump? And it's obvious who Trump is. These guy's an idiot. I mean, it's isn't it obvious? Now, from the Korean point of view, though, they have to take this so seriously. Like, okay, so what's Trump's game plan? And much of the news, they've been talking about how Trump and Hegseth are reorganizing how we're using military forces, political theaters where you're deploying troops, etc. And, in Korea, then the discussion is, how will we essentially be self-reliant and pull away from the USA? That's essentially the debate. How self-reliant do we want to be? Do we want to, get rid of the USA ties completely, et cetera? Do we want to go closer? Do we want to wait it out? That's just essentially the internal debates here. In the USA, then, I understand this. From Trump's point of view, he just wants to use the military and sick on his, political enemies, and basically, again, it just looks like you're pushing towards civil war. So I just want to give it in a context. The other thing that they're showing in the Korean news is about the shutdown, and basically how regular Americans are going to be suffering. So they're showing, signs of shutdown, this is closed, do not enter, these kind of things. They're showing, say, what it's like for federal workers or just regular Americans waiting in line because things aren't functioning. This is how they're portraying the USA in Korea. Or, they'll just talk about how regular Americans are struggling. So, for example, watch this.
워싱턴 DC의 한 커피숍. 한 잔 가격은 6달러 선인데 몇 달 뒤 재고가 바닥나면 더 버틸 수 없다고 말합니다.
I'm holding it, but this is not permanent. I'm going to have to think about increasing the price of the drinks, at least for that 10% that
So what they were talking about, is coffee's like $6, and what do local people think and do? And then they're mentioning, coffee, meat, soybeans, whatever, and the different tariff prices. So basically they're just saying that everything's really expensive in the USA due to Trump. That's basically what the news is, and that regular people are struggling. So here's another example.
Our cost from the suppliers has increased 20% minimum. And now with this new tariff, we have to change our suppliers.
And then they'll talk about, and I'm talking about Korean news here, how everything's really, really expensive at the store for Americans. So it's very different than watching Fox News where Trump just tells you everything's really cheap and inflation is over and you're all going to be rich. Like, it's just not the case, right? So the Korean News like literally just shows you regular people in America and how they're doing, and then it talks about prices at the store. I'll listen a bit more here.
The result of these tariffs is that the average American household is going to face price increases of around $2,400 per family.
새학기를 앞두고 서둘러 학용품을 사는 사람들이 늘었다는 미국 소매연맹의 보고서도 나왔습니다.
I'm definitely seeing an increase in the prices. We're trying to get ahead of time because we don't know what's going to happen.
And so that's, again, how this whole thing is portrayed in Korea. And I can't speak to, what people are saying in, say, the UK or Australia or, other places around the world. But the basic gist of it is that, Trump wants to fire everyone. That's why they showed all those early quotes of like, Haig's like, oh, if you don't like it, you're fired. And, Trump's like, I'm about to fire everyone. And then the Korean News is like, are they trying to cause a civil war on purpose? Like, what's going on? And then they show how regular Americans are struggling. And you put this all together, I mean, why would anyone want to be allies with the USA? I mean, that's essentially how it is right now. Now, certainly things could change after Trump leaves office, but I just want to give you a different perspective that you may not necessarily get in the American news. We have a lot of people around the world who watch this channel and are in our community, and I'd like to hear what you guys are hearing and saying in your countries, because it may be different than, say, here in Korea, or different what's going on in USA. My point of view on this stuff is I just think a lot of people are going to get hurt by this. And, we have people in the community that work for the federal government, and they've even said they haven't even gotten notice on what the plan is with the shutdown. So some people don't know if they're supposed to come in or not. Chances are you're not going to get paid. I mean, eventually I think you will, but for the time being, you won't be. And this will be a big struggle for a lot of people who, got to put food on the table. So that's my thoughts on this. I'd like to hear yours, and I'll catch you on the next video.